Welcome to the Intern Whisperer Live, the show all about the future of work and innovation. Today's Intern Whisperer Employer Tip of the Week is, if you're paying your intern as a contractor, be sure to explain to them how to complete the 1099 form and that they need to set aside 20% of their contractor payments so they have that if they have to pay any taxes when they file their tax returns. That is an important tip because you don't want them to spend all that money and then get caught with, oh no. Well, anyway, we have Jordan Dauble, owner and founder of SimBlocks, and Barbara Cotter, who is going to be a ball of fun on this show. So welcome, Jordan and Barbara, to the Intern Whisperer.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
All right, so quick question. I'm going to be asking everybody, and also to my left is Axel Aponte. His face is right there on screen. He's waving to everybody. All right, Star Wars or Star Trek, and why?
Me? So
all right. So I'm gonna answer. Oh no, you go ahead.
Okay. So for me, I actually grew up watching Star Trek. So I would prefer Star Trek because I just grew up watching it. Star Wars, yeah. Now it's actually getting more popular. So maybe now I guess I'll prefer more Star Wars because Star Trek is now, I guess, behind the ball game.
Okay, we're going on to the next one. This isn't a long question, it's short. Jordan, Star Wars, Star Trek, which one?
Yeah, Star Trek.
All right, any reason?
No reason.
I am a Star Trek person also. Barbara?
For me, Star Wars, I grew up with it, but not so much anymore with all the dumb politics now with Disney.
Too bad. Okay.
Disney's ruining it.
Maybe, but it could be other reasons. So COVID-19 has given us a lot of reasons to rethink about innovation and development. And I think because of all of this having to be remote, we're seeing a lot more interest in virtual reality, simulation, all different types of ways that we can engage remotely. And it carries over into that training arena. So we're going to start off our show and kick it off with Jordan first, and then we'll go to Barbara. So tell our listeners what your educational background is, Jordan, and a little bit of how you got your first job.
Hey everybody. Yep. So I'm Jordan. I'm a software developer, and I also am the owner of a small business called SimBlocks. We're located in Orlando, Florida. My personal background is I studied at Purdue University, grew up in Indiana, came down and worked in Atlanta for a while, and then made my way down to Orlando. So I've worked for several companies who are in like the military simulation space, who build virtual training systems. And later on, I had an opportunity to start this company where we support that market and other markets who want to take advantage of, using commercial game engine technology as core components of their training systems.
That is very interesting. And you said some magic words in there, game engine. So that's significant. How about you, Barbara? Where'd you go to school, your degree? How'd you get started in software development, I'm going to assume?
I went to the Osceola County School for the Arts, 6th through 12th. So I did a lot, actually more with music. And I originally double majored in music and biomedical computer engineering. Ended up switching, it's a long story, but I ended up getting my degree at my AA at Valencia in music performance in both voice and percussion. And then at UCF, I ended up getting actually my degree in interdisciplinary studies. I do recommend it if you don't really know what to do, because this degree in particular, it's kind of a new field. You kind of pretty much make your own degree. You pick two main areas, go down and study those, and then you pick a minor then to be attached to it. So you're pretty much getting skills in different areas and incorporating it and being able to have more, it's like, jack of all trades kind of thing.
Yeah, so you become, it's like independent study, but you're choosing the career path that you want to go.
It's not actually independent study. It is actually a program that you have to follow. There is an entrance course for interdisciplinary studies and an exit course. my two main areas were arts, computational sciences, and then a minor in intelligent robotic systems.
Oh, that sounds interesting. Just so you know, I actually do know what it is because Axel is from that same program, but I've been working with UCF and had 5 years of students from that program. When I was saying it's like an independent study, it's, to me, it's you're creating your own custom career path instead of having.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So that's what I meant by that. Anyway, but I'm really glad that you shared for all of our listeners because now they'll know what UCF has to offer. What was your first job, Jordan? Where did you get started? We have here Microsoft. So what's the story about Microsoft here?
Sure. So my first job out of college was at a company called Firearms Training Systems in Atlanta. But prior to that, I mean, I worked at Burger King for a while. I worked at a box factory. Those were awesome jobs. Just as like summer internship things. Yeah. So you're asking about Microsoft. Yep. So I was working I was working for Havoc for a couple of years. They were setting up an office in Orlando to support some of their U.S. customers in the military simulation space. They were well known prior to that, and probably still more for the work they've done supporting the games industry with their physics libraries and other libraries. Yeah, they had a cool operation here. Eventually, Microsoft acquired that business from Havoc. And so I kind of had an opportunity to decide whether I wanted to go out to the West Coast or, start this company.
Are you a veteran by chance?
I am not. No.
So that's interesting that you chose a career and an industry to work with that is not your area of specialty. Did you have to learn how to talk? It's very technical and it's very specific in the space of, each branch of the military.
When you study a very technical field, something like computer science, right, where you have to, you're graduate at knowing how to do a lot of really cool things, but not necessarily understanding the domain of the industry that you're working in. You need to put some effort in to learn that. And so whether that's military simulation or something else, which is why at our company, we like to work with a lot of interns coming out of UCF, let them apply some of the skills they've learned, using programming languages like C++ or C#, but also kind of slowly get them up to speed, with some of the tools that are used in this industry, the standards that are used, slowly introduce them to the many, many acronyms that they will come across in their jobs. And so the interns that have come through our company and gotten jobs at larger businesses, I think that's been helpful for them. And we've also been able to hire several developers full-time, as well as transition people like Barbara to associate roles. So.
Oh, that's very, very good. I find at the military, you definitely need to know quite a bit of the jargon that they speak. And that's, I think, a bit of a learning curve. My dad was in the Air Force as a pilot, and my brother is in the Army. And so there is very specific language that they use. So they can probably tell that I do not know their industry as well when I talk with them. Yeah. Anyway, just wondering about that. Okay, so SimBlocks, where did the name come from? When did you start it? What's the startup story? Because you and I also went through Starter Studio. It was called Canvas at that time.
Yeah. So when this all when it all began, and I have been going to a few sessions around town. There are a number of organizations who will kind of help upcoming entrepreneurs think about what should go into starting a business. But yeah, I was fortunate around that time to get into Starter Studio, which they now call their ideation phase accelerator. So that was a 3-month program in downtown Orlando where they walked us through the business model canvas and how to do customer discovery and the culmination of all that. And this is all part of a cohort as well with other entrepreneurs. But the culmination was a presentation at the Dr. Phillips Center downtown, which was a really cool event.
I did
Not
that
just
one
because it
too.
was, yep,
It's
yep,
cool.
great time. So it introduced our company to the community, but we also made some connections coming out of there, where we were then able to work with the professor and some students from his class in the upcoming semester. Our very first employee came out of that class. So yeah, I can tie a lot of things back to that original Starter Studio effort and demonstration.
Did you also go through UCF's I-Core program?
Yeah, so at that time, we had received an I-Core grant through Starter Studio, and so that was the primary grant funding that our teams received in that cohort.
Yeah, I also got the ability to go through the I-Core program. It was truly a gift, I think. I used that money to go to Lisbon, Portugal, and do customer discovery there to see, would my product have global appeal? And it did. And then I met some help me get into NASDAQ's program. So sometimes you go halfway around the world and it creates another door. So what did your customer discovery turn up with when you were doing that?
Yeah, so
I know
we
that's one of your
interviewed.
favorite things to do is go talk with people that you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so what Isabella is referring to, right, is not every entrepreneur starts out being very social and like wanting to engage with potential customers, but it's really something you have to kind of pick up, no matter what your background is. So so we interviewed a number of experts around town. Some of those people are I'm still in communication with, as informal advisors. After finishing the Starter Studio program, we were accepted into the UCF Business Incubation Program, which which then gave us some office space, and we were able to be located right on the east side of Orlando, at really the heart of the modeling and simulation community. So we are where we need to be, and definitely have been engaging with a lot of potential customers, both in Orlando and around the world now, with customers contacting us about our products and services.
Where did the name Symblocks come from then?
Yeah, did I forget to answer that? So Symblocks, I think at one point I had heard the phrase "building blocks for simulation," right? And I was like, yeah, that's kind of like what I want to build. Building blocks to help our customers utilize commercial gaming technologies, support the standards that we have to support in our industry. So Symblocks, right? And I don't know, somewhere I had seen IO was like the trendy tech thing to do. So Symblocks.io. It's our website.
Yeah.
Go there. It's awesome.
That's a good story. I thought it had something to do with Legos. I think you have a child, so it's going to had to do blocks because kids play blocks. Nonetheless, it's an interesting story.
What is the hardest part about having your own business, Jordan?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a learning experience. And I think you have to have the mindset of, wanting to get out of your comfort zone and, pick up some new skills, and like to struggle, with either learning something or using some new tool, or being presented with information that you don't understand, and then you gotta figure out how to understand it. So yeah, so as the company grows and as you have more opportunities, the number of hats you have to wear just increases. So you have to plan, you have to segment your time, and try to be efficient. And we've been fortunate. We now have a growing team, which means I can offload some things, but you still have to stay on top of how that work is distributed, and make sure it all gets executed.
How many employees do you have?
So we have a team of 10 people.
Wow.
Currently. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's a big accomplishment.
What is the best part of having your own business?
I guess most people want to start a business, right? Because they want to have more freedom as far as how they spend their time and what projects they want to go after. As an entrepreneur, if you want to be successful, you also need to adopt the mindset of wanting to serve your customers, which means when you start your business, you need to be always thinking about, okay, which markets should I be going after, and what are their needs and how can I, reach them and set up meetings so that we can, build a relationship. So all those things need to be top of mind. And so, yeah, I mean, regardless of how it all began, it all, you have to, adopt that strategy.
Yeah, you definitely have to like people when you're in business for yourself, because that's who, is paying you. That's for sure. And you have to be okay with to any suggestions they have on, what you could do better. That's another one that's for sure. The reason why I started my business is because I didn't want to keep working by myself. I wanted a team of people to work with, and I wanted a sense of something bigger than just myself, like creating something that is actually out there to solve a big problem and having a team of people. So I look forward to the day that I get to have 10. I actually told Joe, he's my software developer, said, okay, 2 weeks ago, I said, you can quit your job. You're the first employee in the company. So he was pretty excited about that and just, taking it on and running with it. So that not always about, I don't know about you, but I put in probably 18-hour days, pretty sure it's about that every day. So it doesn't seem like, sometimes I'll go, hey, what day is this? I'm not sure, just because of the amount of work. You don't work less, you work more when you have your own business.
That's true.
Yeah, definitely true. But I can honestly say I wouldn't trade it for anything. I do what I do. So the industries that you work with, can we let Barbara have a shot at this one?
Yeah, let's go for it.
It's a test and see what she knows. Oh, and by the way, Jordan, your headphones, you look like Princess Leia because you've got the little buns on your head, and because of your green screen right behind you when you turn, it's like a.
Do you want me to change my background? I've got another one.
Oh no, just I know what the other one was. So that's fine. So Barbara, industries, what are the industries that you guys play in?
Real estate, military, gaming, training, different types of training.
Are you guys in healthcare?
We are not.
So I signed up to be a part. I'm a sponsor of the Serious Play Conference, but I'm also going to be moderating a track. Last year I did the defense track. This year Sue Bole, who's also an Intern Pursuit customer, put me in the healthcare one. I went, that's great. That's one of the industries I want to meet people in, so I can see if I can start getting some business with those industries.
Oh, but I do remember Jordan built, I don't remember, you built a demo for the coronavirus.
Oh, nice.
Or you're trying to simulate the particles or was it the cells? I'm not sure. You're the one who made the project. You should probably elaborate on that.
Yeah. Have you ever heard the
game?
term like a one-off project, one-off demo?
Yeah.
That's yeah. So what we were doing was showing different examples of things that we can build with the Unity game engine. So this was a simulation of how the coronavirus could transfer between population. And so we had different agents within the Unity game engine, and you could see based on different colors over time how the virus would spread through the population. Now that particular project was not all my idea. I had taken a course at UCF that semester where we were taught various simulation methods, and so we originally did that using a different tool, and then I created that Unity demonstration as well.
Was it that people were not washing their hands? Is it like that kind of a game, or was it touching anything and how it spread? I saw some videos where on YouTube, it was actually, maybe it was Facebook, where nurses were going, okay, this is how you spread it. And they were touching their phone, touching their face, touching everything around them, and boom, coronavirus was everywhere.
Yeah, it was very simplistic. So each agent was represented as a sphere that would bounce around.
It looked like bouncing balls.
As the spheres would touch or get closer, it was spread.
Yeah. Huh. And did they have different colors so you could tell them apart? Okay.
Yep.
Is it on your website by chance?
I know we have a video of it somewhere.
So I've asked Axel to have your website ready. He does, and he's going to share his screen. And while we're talking, we'll go ahead, have that on the side here so that people can see what it is that we're talking about. So what I like about your website, it says that he started to share, but it's taking a minute for it to connect. There we go.
It's up.
Yeah, so we can kind of see that. I think that what's great about your website is it has truly a, a defense sector feel to it with the topography of the land, and then also, the zooms out into the big world, and then it goes in Google Maps, I guess, maybe. So you've got commercial and residential, and then it looks like the defense all showing up there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so really what we're trying to do is build and simulate a digital twin of the real world, right? So something like that definitely can be useful for the military simulation industry, but many other markets as well can utilize these products and services. So a lot of the images that you're seeing here from this main page are of the product that we call the One World SDK for Unity. So it gives you that, something like a Google Maps feel, right, where you have a view of the Earth from low to high altitudes, multiple levels of detail, the ability to then through Unity add, high detailed content insets. So yeah, it's a digital representation of the world that, because it's in a well-supported game engine, you can then utilize capabilities like virtual and augmented reality headsets. You can deploy, not just to a desktop, but to many other platforms, tablets, mobile phones, different devices. Yeah, there are a lot of advantages to using commercial game engine technology, and then combining with a tool like the One World SDK really increases the types of applications you can build with a game engine like Unity. Also, we have made the One World SDK for Unity publicly available and open source, so it's all on GitHub now, and so anyone can download the source code and start running with it.
I like that. Since we have the website up, is there something else you'd like us to showcase here? Since we were talking about your industries, I don't know.
So there should be under products a page for the One World SDK, and that will have the link to. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, click on that. That should then have the link at the bottom of the One World SDK for Unity page to the GitHub site.
Yeah, it's taking a minute to load up there. Okay, looks like it's there.
Yeah, if you scroll down, let's see if that link is there.
You want the video?
The video is good too. I think that one is just showing a jet flying around. So in addition to just showing, a worldwide based terrain and different types of 3D content on the globe, for some of the military simulation customers we support, as well as commercial aviation, there are particular communication standards that need to be supported with Unity in order to control things like the dynamics of how a jet would fly around the world. So there's a particular standard called the Common Image Generator Interface, or SIGI, that we use to control things like entities and weather and time of day and visual effects.
All right, so he had a question. This other question that Axel had is augmented reality or virtual reality? Which do you use and why? Or is it both?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so as a good, as a company that follows the lean startup methodology, we focus on what our customer is asking for. And so we get a lot of interest in using, say, the One World SDK for Unity with virtual reality headsets far more than we do anything involving augmented reality. However, it doesn't mean our customers may not, on their own be trying to use this technology with different AR headsets.
So this is not necessarily just for gamers. It's obviously for really training purposes. The type of videos that you had there were more for, I would think, training. Is it really games?
Yeah, so the way I would think about it is we provide technology that gets our customers, say, 80% towards the final application they want to deploy, right? Our customers would be dealing with specific requirements from the government to meet very specified training requirements. And that would imply that the visual system has to have certain elements to it that we may not be providing in our core product. So generally, to create a final training system, our customers will have to add their own customizations to it, and they may do that on their own, and we may support them in those efforts.
I'd
I'm
say
really glad-
another thing. Oh, sorry.
No, go
Hello?
ahead.
I was going to say another thing is that, when you have some of these companies that build like training systems, sometimes they can cost thousands of dollars, whereas for what we have, we're using systems that already exist, which game engines, Unity, Unreal, they're very powerful. We're using systems that already exist to be able to do, at least try to do what those really expensive training applications can do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. This is someplace, one of my other companies, I'd like it to be able to share and definitely not share, but jump into the pool here with you guys. So we have a game, Intern Pursuit game. It's on Steam, and we built ours in Unreal Engine, which is an Epic is the parent company there. And so I know Unity and Unreal Engine, they both have platforms that people can take advantage of to create the things that can be used in simulation training as well as in the entertainment sector. Just good stuff to have there. But let's go ahead and talk about the mega grant since we're talking about games. You won a mega grant. Tell me about that.
Yes, we did. Yeah, so last year we won a mega grant from Epic Games to support a method of bringing in geospatial data into the Unreal Engine. So there's a particular terrain and 3D model standard called CDB. At one point was known as the Common Database format. So with our tools, we make it really easy for our customers to take an existing CDB terrain database and import that content into the Unreal editor. We've also extended that further for cases where our customers have very large, geospatial areas that they're representing, where they can't, fit all of that into an Unreal project, right? We allow them to stream that CDB data on the fly into the Unreal Engine, and that would give you the support for very large areas, as well as the ability to, by using existing tools that they're already using to create the CDB databases, they don't have to re-export to some other intermediate format. They can go directly from their tool to CDB, then to Unreal on the fly.
Did you ever have to pivot?
Excellent question, Isabella.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so right. So when I started the company, I was very focused on just the military simulation industry, which is probably fine. You want to have an initial customer base that you want to support, or if you've read any business books, they might refer to it as a beachhead, right? So we have some very good customers in the military simulation space, and we've been thinking about, how can this core technology apply to other industries? So over the last year, we've been successful in branching out into the autonomous vehicle industry. You think about if you have a car on the road without a driver, There's software behind that vehicle that's perceiving things and making decisions about, what actions the car should take next. And in order to reduce, errors and potential crashes on the road, that means you have to put those software algorithms through a tremendous amount of training and, many different types of environments. So, you can create a simulation of, a car driving down the highway, and it's typically going to be experiencing almost all the time very similar situations. There's a car next to me, there's a car in front of me, it's passing me, there are this many lanes, it's daytime, it's nighttime, but what happens when you get in a situation where, someone else on the road makes a mistake, or they're not paying attention, all of a sudden they veer into your lane, or there's some type of vehicle you haven't seen before that's entering the highway. What is that going to do to the software algorithm? So you need not just a large volume of training data, but a very, very wide variety of experiences and objects that would be seen, as well as changing lighting conditions and weather conditions. It's just not physically possible to capture all these things.
Luminar Tech, they have that same type of technology except in the vehicles, right? And it can detect, oh no, there's a deer that just ran across the road, and it's driving, rain, and or dead of night, and you just didn't see it, but the car stops like this.
Yeah. I mean, there are many companies who recognize the need for a solution to solve this problem, and yeah, it's a very hot area to be in, whether you're on the side of creating the physical sensors, or the software that makes decisions based on the perception of the world. So.
Yeah, that is truly amazing stuff there. Let's talk about ITSEC, the biggest conference that there is in the country, all built around simulation and training. And the big industries that I see there are the defense industry, healthcare, surprisingly education, which makes me always wonder, where is it? I don't see it in the classroom. I've seen it with construction. I think that there's going to be more people in sports showing up there, but ITSEC is typically that government crowd is what we see. And I've been trying to get you to be a guest on the show for a while, and pursuing you has been daunting. So you've been working on an article to get it published and also presented at ITSEC, which, just so our listeners know, is in November here in Orlando, Florida. So how's that article going? I know you can't give away any secrets, but what's going on?
Yeah, ITSEC is a great conference, right? You have all the big players there in the simulation industry, and sometimes you have to look hard, but you can find ways as a small business to get involved. So by being in the UCF incubation program, there was one year where we got into ITSEC just as an incubator company. Our first year as a company at ITSEC, we actually participated in a huge demonstration on the ITSEC floor that involved like 45 different organizations, where they showed a live virtual constructive simulation over several days, and really trying to highlight, all the issues that go into creating something, of that scale. So that was a great event. That was called Operation Blended Warrior.
Oh, yeah, I know that organization. They're a good one.
Yeah, so I think that went over like 3 or 4 years, and we were on the tail end of that. But yeah, that was a huge opportunity for us, really, because we didn't have anything when we started, right? We didn't have any of our own technology at that point, and it gave us a chance to work with other vendors, create some initial solutions, and test with some government provided data and networks.
Did Barbara go to any of those? Because how long has she been with you?
So that was 2017 when we did OBW, and Barbara, you started January 2020?
Yep, I started in January of 2020.
There was no ITSEC last year, so this will be her first year.
Yeah. You were asking about our paper for this year, right? So we sort of got it back in the back door, right? For one of the years we did a paper, but we didn't submit to IEDSEC. We submitted to ModSim World, and we won best paper that year at ModSim World. So that was great. Kind of along the lines of what we've been talking about, lessons learned from OBW, as well as what the capabilities are of commercial game engines, and how that can benefit vendors and the overall simulation industry. What we're up to this year is I took a class in the spring semester at UCF called Hacking for Defense.
Wait, is this
which
you paid money for a class with that title?
uh,
That is crazy.
Yeah.
They're teaching people
Yeah.
to hack. Okay.
Well, it's not referring to cybersecurity. It's referring to how can you train students to understand how to work with the government. So we had a real mix of people in our class, people who were just undergraduates without any industry experience, all the way through PhD level students and other people who were kind of working already at jobs and just kind of taking classes part-time, right? So our class was split up into 3 teams, and each team was able to work with the Navy, LVC, Digital Operations Center, on a real world problem that the Navy is facing. In the class, they walk you through lean startup, customer discovery. You're doing weekly presentations on what you learned, and coming out of that, we submitted an abstract to IEDSEC about our problem and how we went about researching it and talking with experts in the industry. And we are finishing up the paper now, which hopefully will be accepted, but we'll see. So
that's pretty exciting. Well, we're going to take just a few seconds here to take a break and acknowledge our sponsor, and then we'll be right back for the second part of the show.
The Intern Whisperer is brought to you by Cat5 Studios, who help you create games and videos for your training and marketing needs that are out of this world. Visit Cat5 Studios for more information to learn how Cat5 Studios can help your business. Thank you, Cat5 Studios.
Okay, so we're back to our show, and it's about internships. So Barbara gets to come up on the seat here. All right, Barbara, tell us how you got started with SimBlocks. How did you meet Jordan? What is the 411, as we'll use that old phrase?
So how did it start? Well, I had a pretty interesting resume, but because of it, I was having actually a very hard time finding any sort of internship, because everyone who wanted to hire me wanted to hire me for either customer service or just anything that had to do with, honestly, dealing with people. Because what happened was that right when I got out of high school, I was hired immediately as percussion tech at St. Cloud High. So I was in charge of the front ensemble for marching band. I did that for one marching band season. Later on, ended up working at AMC Theaters, downtown Disney. It's now called Disney Springs, for 6.5 years, and at SeaWorld call center for 4.5 years. Hi, thank you for calling SeaWorld and Busch Gardens. This is Barbara. How can I help you today? That. And I ended up leaving both of them in 2019. I left AMC because of my school schedule, but I actually left SeaWorld because I was let go. The entire contact center got closed and outsourced. So all of us lost our jobs. So I was without anything, and I was applying for so many internships. This was my second to last semester for school, and I was applying it so much, but I was having such a hard time because of my resume. All of my coding experience and everything was within school. I didn't have any outside experience because it's not like I did, because if you do, for example, computer engineering, you'll have that senior design course and it gets you exposure, whereas I didn't have any outside exposure, and I had skills in all sorts of things, but never was super specialized in one thing. I just had skills in so many different things. And, when you have a lot of these, places that I kept applying to trying to get internships, they're all like wanting you to have insane C++ coding skills. Like they just very specifically want you for this. And, I'm a little slower just because of disability. So, but despite that, I just had such a hard time. And then back on, I think, beginning of January, suddenly I got a message because I had put my resume in. Oh my gosh, I forgot what it was called. It was this thing for UCF.
Handshake.
Hey, thank you, Handshake. I put my resume in Handshake, and I applied at SimBlocks back in September. I think back in September or August, and then in January I got a message from Jordan saying, would you be interested in an internship? And I was so careful about, like, at the time, I'll be honest, I was so careful about my words. I was like, oh yes, I would love to, but I was so desperate. I was like, behind the scenes, I was like, please. Did the interview. I do remember, at least I hope it was this, because I had a lot of experience with Unity. Not so much Unreal, but I had a lot of experience with Unity, especially for one of the courses I took at UCF was, oh my goodness, artificial intelligence or AI for game programming. That was it. And the teacher, oh my gosh, he was amazing. I know he's the director at FIA. He was my professor. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm kind of mad at myself. But he was amazing. I learned so much from him. So I ended up starting at the middle of January at SimBlocks as a software development intern, and I just got thrown into everything. Here you go. I need you to learn all about One-World SDK. I need you to learn all about this, and you have a week to learn it all. Okay. So I'd say the internship at SimBlocks has been an amazing experience, and I actually have learned a lot. I feel like I've gotten more experience from this internship than anything I did at school.
Oh,
I
I
agree
think
with
I've
you,
heard that.
Barbara. I completely agree with you.
Like
Kind of in the same boat because I actually found Enter Pursuit on Handshake as well.
nice.
Yeah, so I found it, and she was like, I signed up for like 6 different interns, and she was the first one.
Oh, I think I signed up for like 30 and nobody, I kept getting turned down on everything. And then I got so desperate. I started just applying things because I was studying programming. So I wanted to get a job and learn more programming, but I was so desperate. I even started applying to theater stuff again, just because I was so like, nobody would hire me, but I was
Now it worked
very
into a
grateful.
paying job, though.
I was very grateful. Yes. I was very,
Yeah.
very grateful.
That is super cool because that is Axel's in the same place, same major, same thing. He's trying to figure out. I said, dude, you do not have the luxury. You have got to figure it out within this internship so that
I just
he
graduated
knows.
too, so which I'm excited. I was happy
Yeah.
I graduated. But
So you graduated. So with interdisciplinary studies, what was your final project on?
so I actually graduated in the business administration for I graduated in that field. It was just learning basic skills of like finance, accounting, but everything was like combined in like group projects.
Mm-hmm.
I had one for capstone where we needed to learn about like a company, just share like all their reports. That was like our final project.
For me, for my exit for interdisciplinary studies, because it pretty much had to do with, she wanted us to find a controversial issue and try to solve it using interdisciplinary studies. Well, I ended up believe it or not, I brought up 27-page paper I wrote.
Wow.
On Final Fantasy 14. It was yep. People are like, what? Well, here's the thing. That game almost made Square Enix go bankrupt, and they have amazing director and producer. He's both director and producer. He goes by Yoshi P, but Nakia, I can never say it. Yoshida, san saved the game because they ended up something that would take over 4 or 5 years. He was able to accomplish in 2 years and 8 months.
Wow.
With the stuff that he did, and he something that was so controversial of like, this is impossible, there's no way you can do this. And he's like, no, we can do this. It was, and everything he did, he got all sorts of departments involved in getting everybody to work together, because what made it fail was that nobody was working together. You know, very famous story is that literally a flour barrel had more polygons than an actual playable character. That 20 barrels would crash the game. Literally, it was a barrel. It was a barrel with flowers in it. When they were first designing this game over 10 years ago, the barrel had like, I think it was 200 it had more polygons than a playable character.
So I have to move us on.
Oh, sorry.
We're going to jump back in here. So we're going to blow through this one pretty quick. So what do you predict the future of simulation will be like 5 or 10 years from now? Because I definitely see it being used, obviously, more for training, whether it's sports, whether it's construction, or any of those things where, you know, you need lots of land to try things out. You'll be able to do it in a more contained space, in a simulation space. But what do you think it's going to be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I can tell you my first experience using a virtual reality headset was like amazing, right? Because it allows you to really feel like you're no longer in the physical world, but now in this virtual environment. So we're going to be seeing, you know, headsets with higher resolution, so you can see more details in that environment.
Do you think that they'll be small, manageable? I do. I think it'll probably even be like contacts you can put in your eyes, something like that, or embedded in us. I don't know.
I would have never thought of that, to be honest.
Possibly, you know, there's like this desire to have these systems do more, right? Way less, but you have to deal with this problem of how much power does it take to drive these things, and you know, no one wants to still also be attached to, you know, a desktop or some other power source while they're using it. So, you know, there are these competing interests. I've kind of learned too that when you do anything with the government, it takes a really long time. So, you know, even though you and I might have opportunities to work with some really cool technology and we think, this is leading edge, you know, the process to go from that experiment that you might be doing in your office or some lab to actually being deployed and used by a large number of end users, you know, that takes years, right? So you're probably going to see, you might see more. I mean, there are obviously opportunities, you know, government funded programs where there's a lot of money flowing around for these types of things. But whether we see these headsets adopted more for, you know, commercial applications or defense applications, I'm not sure which one's going to actually get there first.
Okay. Jumping over here just a little bit more. We have a couple of other questions, but job opportunities, when I was looking at what does that look like in simulation, it looks like it's all engineers and honestly programmers, but programmers are also engineers. There was a lot of growth across the spectrum, which was the highest one. The best opportunities were in cartography, you know, maps. And that was saying 15% growth. So the thing that you created with your game is going to be the hottest thing going out. Best mentoring advice that you want to pass on. What is it?
Oh, okay. Let's go back to that one. I was thinking about an answer.
Okay. Okay. What is it?
Okay. Yeah. So you're asking about
Cartography?
Different. No, not cartography, but like what are the fields
Yeah.
or people should get into, right? So I can say, like, from my experience, there's a huge amount of opportunity for students who really want to learn how to program and how to use technologies that, you know, they can get started on for free. You know, if you look at game engines like Unity or Unreal or other sorts of, you know, 3D content development tools, like there's a huge amount of need for people with those skill sets, and you know, they can certainly get jobs, you know, either in the defense industry here in Orlando, but many other markets can utilize those technologies, whether you're talking about gaming or other types of entertainment, movies. There's tremendous adoption in those with those tools.
All right. Barbara, what's your best mentoring advice?
Well, I was going to first add to what he said.
Okay.
When it comes to all this, for example, because it's not just programming, for example, 3D modeling. We actually had an intern because I actually have 3D modeling experience from a while back. And so I ended up teaching her how to use the Unity animator. That's something, and she wasn't a programmer. But the animator itself, I did actually teach her a little bit of code just to be able to control it from code, but a lot of it can be done just from a modeler's perspective without code. So there's a lot of stuff that can be done without programming. It just depends on what it is. But all of this stuff, it kind of ties in together. It's all these multiple disciplines that kind of just mesh together very well.
Good add-on. I'm glad you shared that.
We're going to be welcoming another member of Jordan Dauble's team onto the Intern Whisperer, and his name is Danny Conradi. He is the senior programmer over there at Simblocks, and we welcome you to the show.
So, Danny, what do you think the simulation industry is going to look like 5 or 10 years from now?
I think you're going to see a lot more adoption of video game technology. I think that's pretty inevitable. Both the big engines, Unreal and Unity, have been pushing a lot into different areas, expanding their market, adding support for the needs of the different sectors. So expanding into things like film and simulation, those kind of things. So I think it's just makes sense for them to expand and slowly but surely replace any of the existing systems with technology that's off the shelf and has a lot of the capability that they need in simulation.
I don't know if you know this or not, but I have a game and it's on Steam and it's built in Unreal Engine also. But our game is entertainment. And so in the space of simulation, that's not entertainment. How do you define what simulation is and how it can be different from what the average person, just so that they have a definition?
Yeah, so of course, what you're trying to do is, instead of providing something that's entertaining, you're providing something that's trying to teach somebody something, practice some skills, share information. So you have different goals, but you're still trying to do it in an interactive way and even in a fun way sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of simulation can be wearable, right? We can put on the goggles, we can put on gloves so we can interact with things. Do you think 10 years from now it will go beyond that? It would be something embedded in our brain? The Matrix, think the Matrix.
I mean, I've heard about Neuralink and those kind of things. I don't know if we're ready for that yet. One anecdote that I have is we went to see a famous futurist, I think Michio Kaku, who was speaking at Rollins College, and he came and he did this incredible presentation about the future and how technology will basically disappear because it'll become so small and it'll just be integrated in everything. And after all of these forward-thinking thoughts about everything, he tried to show a video, and the system there couldn't play the video because they didn't have the right codec installed. So
oh my God.
It's kind of there'll always be these hiccups. So maybe we should be limiting exactly how far we take these things in terms of implants.
So the idea of that space of being able to experience it with all of the senses, I think is going to be the thing that simulation is truly replicating. I can see its use in war settings, but where else do you think that it's truly valuable? Because I think, war medics, surgeries, things like that, firemen, police, I think it's helpful there. Is there anything else that I'm forgetting?
Well, I mean, just simulation general training, work with people who do construction equipment. I mean, you don't want to train people on millions of dollars worth of equipment. Just put them on a small version first, hooked up to a computer, and they can train everything without destroying anything. So I think that also adds a lot of value.
But don't you think mentally that you've already got a person in their head is going, okay, I know that I can't really hurt anything because it's a game. It's not the same. I think that there's still a distinction between reality and how close is the simulation.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely approach it from a different perspective if you know it's not really real. But I think once you're in it for a while, and if it's immersive enough and nothing that like breaks the immersion, like you kind of get swept up in it, and it sort of was very close to the real thing.
Mhm. So why did you choose this as an industry that you wanted to be in?
Well, I've always been interested in video games, but more in the technology behind it. So I would see a game and then I'd be interested in like, oh, so how do they do that technically? And that kind of led me down the path of developing technology for video games instead of the actual video games. I did start out with a few like simulation projects also, like UAV kind of, or mining simulations. And then we started a company in Germany with some friends and developed a 3D engine. And then it was kind of a next logical step. We had customers interested in doing 3D, but then they had what we used to call serious game applications for it. So things like train simulations or construction equipment or even military simulations that were interested in using this more advanced kind of 3D graphics. So it was sort of a natural progression. And then I like eventually started focusing specifically on the application of video games for simulation.
I don't know if I asked that question of you earlier, Jordan. Why did you choose simulation to get into?
Yeah, back in college, I went through the normal, programming courses at Purdue, and then I'd taken a few courses on computer graphics, learning about 3D modeling and how to render these models through software and then through acceleration. And I wanted, then I needed to find a job. And I was like, well, what can I do with this knowledge? So I came across a company called Firearms Training Systems up in Atlanta. They have a number of different simulators where they help, say the Marine Corps or the Army or law enforcement learn how to use firearms where that can hold, and they might be seeing, virtual entities on a screen that they're going to be interacting with. So there's a whole part of the system which is creating the virtual world that is shown to the trainees.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks so much. I appreciate that you've been here. You've been a trooper. I know that one of Jordan's tests for being able to get a raise is that you have to be able to think quickly. I'm just setting you up here, Danny. So
Exactly.
anyway, thanks so much.
For having me.
Yeah, I'm really glad I got to meet you too. I'm going to let Barbara share the website and, the company email. I'm sure you have an info at, stuff like that. So Barbara, how can people find this company? What is the website? How can people find you on social channels? And then also, is there a company email? I know Jordan is also on LinkedIn, so people can look for Jordan Dauble, Dauble is his last name. But what is the website?
That's a very good question.
He's gone doesn't mean you don't know the website. You got to
simblocks.io. It looks like
it's Indeed.
Okay, we have Facebook, there's we have YouTube, Twitter, GitHub.
There you go. That's exactly what you were supposed to share. Yeah. And what is there an email is there like info at? How did you reach out and find them?
How did I get recruited?
Well, I know you said that you found them on Handshake, but I'm pretty sure that there's got to be an info at simblocks.io.
I believe. Well, yes, there is an info at simblocks.io for general questions. For product information, you can go to sales@simblocks.io. And then there is, if you do specifically want employment opportunities, that's going to be recruiting@simblocks.io.
That is perfect. You did great. Well, I want to say thank you for being a guest on the show today, and also to Jordan for being a guest. And this has been a good show. I expect it to be a lot of fun, especially right here at the end, now that poor Jordan, he left the room, so to speak. But yeah, it's going to be very good.